Mom texted me 2 days before Christmas. Don't bring your kids. They're too loud. My 7-year-old read it over my shoulder. She whispered, Grandma hates us. Her voice cracked like she was trying not to cry. I smiled anyway. The kind of smile you wear when you're bleeding inside. No, honey, I said. Grandma just forgot who feeds her. Then I typed one word back. Understood. A minute later, my phone blew up with photos. Laughing faces, champagne, that perfect. Dining table they'd been bragging about. The table I bought. In the house I've been quietly holding together for years. They thought they were cutting my kids out of Christmas. What they didn't know. I was about to walk into that living room with the truth in my hand. Before I continue, drop a quick hi in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. Sometimes, knowing someone's listening is the only thing that keeps you steady. And if you've ever been the one carrying everyone in silence, subscribe. This isn't just my story. My name's Zayden Hartwell. And this Christmas, I stopped being the family secret at TM. I got home late that night. The kind of late where your shoulders feel like concrete, your brain still buzzing from numbers, permits, and half-finished conversations. Construction doesn't end when you leave the site. It follows you home in spreadsheets, emails, and the quiet pressure of knowing everything only works because you keep it moving. I dropped my keys by the door. Chun's laugh echoed from the living room, bright and sharp like it always does. Near Christmas, Theo was sprawled on the rug with a toy truck, crashing it into the couch, confident the world would forgive him. Marin was in the kitchen humming, chopping vegetables for a dinner none of us were truly hungry for. It was ordinary. Until something cracked it open. I checked my phone out of habit, not urgency. And there it was, Mom's name at the top of the screen, her message. Don't bring the kids this year. They're too loud for Christmas. I stared at the words. They hit like a punch straight through my chest. My mother loved Christmas. She loved noise. She loved kids. Or at least, she used to. Before I could move, June leaned against my shoulder, curious like kids do when adults go quiet. She read it without meaning to. Her body tensed. Grandma hates us, she whispered, small and careful. I dropped to one knee, forced my face into calm. Inside, everything was tightening. No, honey, I said softly. Grandma doesn't hate you. She just forgot who feeds her. John nodded. Not fully convinced, but trusting me in the way kids do when they want the pain to go away. Theo never looked up. He was too busy smashing his truck into invisible walls. I stood, unlocked my phone, typed one word back. Understood. No argument, no questions. Just one word. Almost instantly, my phone started buzzing again. One notification after another. Family photos. Smiling faces. Wine glasses raised. Warm lights on the dining table. And there it was, front and center. The oak table I bought 6 months earlier. Captions like, Quiet Christmas prep. Keeping it cozy this year. Cozy. Quiet. While my daughter was asking if her grandmother hated her, I didn't flinch. Years in business teach you that. You document. I took screenshots. Not anger yet, something colder. Marin paused mid-chop, knife frozen. She looked at me. I shook my head once. I'll handle it, I said. She didn't push. Not yet. The kids went to bed talking about sauna. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Mom's words over and over. When did I stop being family and become just background infrastructure? I turned my phone face down. Didn't forget a single thing. Morning came, coffee, silence. The weight of everything unsaid. Marin waited until the kids were distracted before speaking. You can't just let this go, she said quietly, but there was steel under it. You really just said understood, and that's it. Our kids get uninvited from Christmas, And that's the end of it? I slid my phone across the counter. The photos, the captions, the table. She scrolled, jaw tightening. They're bragging, she said, rubbing it in. I nodded. They don't think I'm watching. I pulled her into the kitchen, out of earshot, and opened my banking. App? I hadn't planned to show her everything. But the moment demanded honesty. Mortgage assistance, home repairs, furniture reimbursements, transfers marked with neutral notes. Just this month. Thanks. Love you. Her eyes widened. Zayden, this is a lot. I told her the truth in pieces. Since Dad died, I'd been covering part of Mom's expenses, helping Graham when his job fell apart. I never told anyone because I thought that's what you do when you're the one who landed on your feet. She finally asked the question I'd avoided for years. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want her to carry it too. Didn't want Mom to feel small. Somewhere along the way, I convinced myself this was easier. Then my phone buzzed again. Private message. Casey, you know you're not in the main family group chat anymore, right? My stomach dropped. Screenshots followed. Everyone was there. Mom, Graham, Blair, aunts, cousins. Everyone except me and Marin. They weren't just excluding my kids. They were erasing me from the narrative entirely. I reread Mom's message. From the night before, the tone wasn't hers, sharp, managerial, like Blair. I tried calling. Mom. Rings. Voicemail. Her voice sounded tired, rushed, pulled in 10 directions at once. I hung up, said nothing. By the time I got to my office, I wasn't thinking like a son anymore. I was thinking like someone who understands systems, leverage, and paper trails. I pulled financial records, checked dates, noted patterns. If they could erase me this cleanly, Christmas wasn't the real problem. Christmas was just the cover. The real question was what they didn't want me to see. By late afternoon, the office was almost empty. I stayed, sleeves rolled up, staring at the screen like it might confess something if I looked hard enough. I pulled every payment I'd ever made into one place. Stop thinking of it as help. This was structural. These weren't favors. Mortgage assistance, taxes, insurance, emergency repairs, furniture reimbursements. All quiet transfers labeled with neutral words. The Brentwood house wasn't just Mom's anymore. It was a system I'd been holding upright. 2 years earlier, when it was weeks from foreclosure, I didn't just step in casually. I saved it in ways no one fully understood, not even Marin. I told myself it was dignity, protection. But the truth? Harder? I didn't want anyone to know how much weight I was carrying. Once you name it, people expect you to stop. I drove home. In silence, replaying every conversation with Mom, the rushed calls, the vague reassurances, the way she started saying Graham's handling it more often. When I got inside, Junie was at the table with markers, making a Christmas card. Grandma, across the front in uneven letters, surrounded by snowflakes and hearts. I want her to like it, she said without looking up. That's when I knew. I couldn't keep this quiet any longer. After the kids went upstairs, I told Marin everything, the full version. How close the house had come to being taken. How I'd stepped in completely. How I'd kept it quiet because I thought that was kindness. Marin didn't interrupt. When I finished, she just nodded once. Then this isn't about Christmas, she said. This is about control. That night, I called my lawyer, Elliot Park, and asked for an urgent meeting. I asked him exactly what my rights were, what I needed to document, and how to protect my mother without turning myself into the villain of the family story. He told me to gather evidence, stay calm, and never confrontation without structure. I emailed my accountant, Raoni Diaz, and asked for a full breakdown of 5 years of transfers categorized and time-stamped. Then, just before I shut my laptop, a notification came in that made my stomach drop. A routine alert tied to the Brentwood address. An inquiry paperwork related. I didn't know who initiated it, but I knew the timing wasn't an accident. They thought I was out of the picture. They were moving while I was understanding. I looked at Chun's card on the table and then at the growing folder of documents sized it. Christmas was coming, and so was the truth. Christmas morning arrived wrapped in the illusion of normally. The kids tore into their presents like nothing was wrong, and I let them. Allowed. I poured coffee. I played my part. But inside I was running through a checklist. Marin dressed Junie and Bo in their nicest clothes, bright colors, polished shoes. Proof against the lie that they were too much. I slipped Pfeffelder into my bag and reminded Marin quietly that if things turned tense, the kids came first. No explanations. No raised voices around them. On the drive to Brentwood, Casey forwarded more messages from the group chat. I wasn't supposed to see the table again, Theween. A comment about needing to finish one thing before tonight. No explanation, just urgency. When we pulled onto my mother's street, the house looked fuller than usual. Groms of Blair's sedan, my Aunt Kendra's car, and one I didn't recognize, something official looking. Service plates. I noticed the new door camera, too. The thick envelope in the mailbox. The house felt watched. Graham opened the door and froze when he saw us. Mimother appeared behind him, her face lighting up at the sight of the kids before. Flickering with uncertainty as she glanced toward Blair. "You're here," she said like she wasn't sure if that was good or bad. Blair stepped forward with a controlled smile, already directing traffic, already managing the room. When I gently mentioned her message about not bringing the kids, my mother frowned. "Did I say that?" she asked. Her hand trembled slightly. I knew then this wasn't an act. Kendra swept in with exaggerated warmth, contradicting things she'd told me days earlier about being out of town. I said nothing. I just watched. In the living room, near a side table that shouldn't have held anything but decorations, sat a thick stack of papers. When my eyes lingered too long, Blair moved quickly to block my view, ushering everyone toward the dining room. Junie and Bo behaved beautifully. Polite, quiet, perfect. The excuse fell apart in real time. As I sat there surrounded by people acting like everything was fine, I understood one thing with absolute clarity. Christmas wasn't the stage. It was the distraction. And whatever they were trying to do, they didn't want me in the room when it happened. The Christmas meal began at the table I'd bought. The centerpiece of my mother's house, polished, heavy, expensive. I noticed every detail, the deep mahogany gleam, the sturdy chairs, the set of plates and stemware that matched the purchase I'd seen on last year's statement. This table was more than furniture. It was the stage for a performance in which my role had been quietly erased. The conversation was polite but brittle, everyone sticking to the surface. Kendra gushed about how Donna always made holidays feel so warm. Graham tossed out a practiced line about how Mom's always been a survivor. Blair handled the wine, her voice precise and pleasant, already maneuvering the room like a well-drilled hostess. I sat next to Marin, who was silent, watching every move. The kids chattered for a while, excited to hand out their presents. Bo insisted that Chun's card for Grandma was the prettiest. Donna smiled them, and for a moment seemed like her old self. Then she asked Junie, "How's second grade going?" Junie blinked and said, "Grandma, I'm in first." Donna's smile faltered. She looked to Graham, who quickly answered for her. "It's been a big year, Mom, a lot to keep track of." Blair picked up the thread, complimenting the kids for being so polite this year. The massage beneath every sentence was clear. "We're in control. This is under control. Nothing to see." I complimented. The table asked about when Mom had decided to redo the dining room. Donna hesitated, glancing at Blair, then said, "Oh, I think your father picked these out. Or maybe it was you." Graham nodded automatically. Blair jumped in. Donna was so grateful for the help. It was just a family effort, you know. Their story was a rehearsed loop. I leaned back, listening. Kendra poured herself more wine, talking about the past, then slipped. She said, "Well, once these papers are all signed, you'll finally be able to relax, Donna." Blair's head snapped around. "Not now, Kendra. Let's focus on Christmas." There was a hard edge in her voice she couldn't hide. I filed that away. Papers. Signatures. Urgency. Blair brought up the kids' noise level as if rehearsing the justification for everything. She referenced an incident last Easter, how B had knocked over a vase and made a scene. It's not Thatian doesn't want kids here. It's just sometimes a quieter holiday is better for everyone's nerves. She said it with a bright smile, but her eyes were cold. I pushed back gently but clearly. "Bis been very calm today. Junie too. Haven't heard a peep." Donna reached for her water and nearly called B by my old nickname, then stopped confused. She looked lost for a moment. "Where's your mother, honey?" She asked Junie as if Marin weren't sitting 2 chairs away. That moment broke something unbeatable. Blair tried to gloss over it, saying, "We all have our days," but Marin and I exchanged a look. This was more than just a little forgetful. It was obvious. Blair's voice sharpened. "We're just trying to keep things peaceful for Donna's sake." Then Graham, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. "Zayden, you can't just show up whenever you want, especially when you weren't invited." My jaw tensed. I measured my next words, then let them out before I could second-guess this myself. Funny, I didn't realize I needed an invitation to a house I own. The words dropped like a stone. Donna's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Kendra stopped talking. Blair's eyes narrowed. The surface tension shattered. Marin, reading the room, stood up and said it was time for the kids to open presents in the living room. She took Junie and B.O., closing the door quietly behind her, leaving the adults in the sharp, cold aftermath. Kendra, trying to ease the air, muttered, "As soon as the last signature's done, everything will be simple." Blair shot her a warning look. Graham started checking his phone again, darting glances at me at the kitchen back at the hallway. He stepped away to take a call, murmuring phrases like, "It needs to be processed today," and "Yes, the fee's already paid." Blair pushed for the meal to end, suggesting we sing carols or move to dessert, anything to dissipate the pressure. But I wasn't letting it go. I told Graham quietly, but directly, that we needed to talk in private about Mom, her health, her finances, and what exactly was being finalized today. He stalled, said, "Maybe after dessert, maybe when Mom was distracted." I saw his hesitation and the flicker of fear in his eyes, and Ick knew I was finally close to the core of it. As Marin led the kids away, I caught her eye. She gave me the smallest nod. It was time to leave the surface and dig into what was really happening. The Christmas dinner had never been about food or family. It was about who controlled the house, who held the keys, and who was willing to bury the truth under a mountain of polite small talk. I had no intention of letting them finish their business without me knowing exactly what it was. The old study still smelled faintly of my father's pipe tobacco and aftershave even years after he'd gone. I closed the door behind Graham and sat down in the chair I'd used as a kid to do homework to watch my dad pay bills and balance checkbooks. Graham stood arms folded, tense and defiant. I said, "We're not leaving this room until you tell me everything. I'm not here to ruin Christmas. I'm here to protect Mom and me kids." He stared out the window, silent. I pressed, "Has Mom seen a doctor of other memory? What's the diagnosis? What meds is she on? Who's making her appointments?" He sighed, rubbing his temples, and finally admitted it. Donna had been diagnosed with early-stage dementia months ago. I didn't want to worry you, he said. We figured you were too busy that sending money was enough. My chest burned. So you hide her health from me, but keep accepting my checks for her care. I kept my voice low, but there was no mistaking the anger. Who's authorized to act for her legally? Who has power of attorney who has access to her accounts? The doctor's Graham shifted defensive. She put my name on some accounts. That's all. There's no formal paperwork. My voice sharpened. You realize that's not just dangerous, it's illegal. If Mom can't manage her affairs, she needs a legal guardian, not you playing banker. He snapped. You think I haven't been here every day? You think I haven't paid out of my own pocket? I shook my head. How much of the money I sent for Mom's care has gone to your bills, Graham? He looked away. Some of it we had to. Blair's hours got cut. We're behind on everything. I forced him to give me a number. 70,000, he said. Finally, his fist red voice shaking. I wrote it down in my notes. This isn't just helping family. This is elder financial abuse, I said flatly. You know that, right? He started to protest, but I cut him off. Listen to me carefully. 3 years ago, after Mom missed her second mortgage payment, she signed a durable power of attorney, making me her agent. I never used it because I wanted to trust you. But if you've been misusing funds and hiding her diagnosis from me, that ends today. His jaw dropped. The plan, whatever it was, had counted on my absence. I pressed harder. I want full access to Mom's medical records, a list of her prescriptions, her care schedule, and copies of every bank statement with your name on it. He slumped defeated, muttering about how I was blowing everything out of proportion. I stared him down. This isn't a negotiation. This is me fixing the mess you made before it gets worse. That's when Marin appeared in the doorway, her face tight. Zayden. There's something in the living room you need to see now. I left Graham behind and walked into the room to see a stack of documents on the side table. Half buried under magazines. At the top was a deed transferred, Donna's shaky signature, clearly visible, and the address of the Brentwood house. Blair noticed me moved quickly to cover the paperwork, but not before I snapped a photo with my phone. Her hands shook as she tried to gather everything up. My heart pounded. The transfer date was just 2 days earlier. All the urgency, all the secrecy, the group chat exclusions, everything pointed to this. They were trying to move the house out from under me, out from under Donna before I could intervene. The call Graham took the phrase must be processed today. The talk of signatures and fees. It was all about rushing a fraudulential while Donna's memory was slipping. I excused myself, phone in hand, and called Elliot, my lawyer, from Fegridge. He picked up on the second ring, even though it was Christmas. I gave him short version, hidden diagnosis, missing money signature on a deed transfer. Don't confront them in front of your mother, he said. Don't explode. You need every piece of evidence, every photo, every bank record. File your power of attorney first thing tomorrow. Call the bank and flag the account for suspicious activity. And Zayden, don't leave your mother alone with them tonight. I hung up and leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The pieces finally made sense. All the years of silence, quiet sacrifices, the times I let things slide for the sake of family peace. They'd weaponized my absence. I stepped back into the living room, kept my face smooth for Donna and the kids. I let Bea sit in my lap, helped Junior wrap a gift, thanked Kendra for her help with the food. But inside, I was counting every minute until I could take action. Donna smiled at me, clear-eyed for a second, and said, "You always were Theon who took care of everybody." I squeezed her hand, promising myself that would never change. I watched Graham and Blair hover by the kitchen, whispering frantically, stealing nervous glances at me. They thought they'd locked me out. They were wrong. As the afternoon faded, The sky went soft and pink behind the frosted windows, and the house was filled with music and the sound of children playing. I played along. I laughed when I was supposed to laugh. I kept the peace because that's what my mother and my kids needed. But in my mind, the cassette was already built. The evidence lined up the strategy clear. Tonight, I was still the invisible scaffolding holding this family together. Tomorrow I'd be the one who took the whole rotten thing apart and rebuilt it from the ground up. They didn't just want me gone from Christmas. They wanted me gone from everything. I was done letting them get their way. After dessert, the house was caught between two worlds, the echo of children's laughter in the living room and the cold, tense shadow growing in the kitchen. I watched Graham step away from the noise phone, pressed to his ear voice, urgent and clipped words like, "Finish tonight, fees are paid, and we just need one last signature." It was obvious the deal wasn't done, and he was desperate to lock it before the clock turned midnight on Christmas. I looked at Marin and gave her a signal. She nodded, ushering the kids and Donna back toward the living room, a buffer of holiday. Music and gifts between them and what was about to unfold. The kitchen light hummed overhead, sharp and unforgiving. I followed Graham, my footsteps quiet on the tile, and caught him by the door to the garage. "We need to talk," I said, keeping my voice low. Graham tried to wave me off. "Not now, Zayden. Let's keep this about family." But he shook my head. "This is about family. That's exactly why it can't wait." I told him what I'd seen. The paperwork, the calls, the signatures. His face tightened as I laid out every piece of puzzle connecting. The dots from the group chat exclusions to the urgent errand Blair had run that morning. "Know about the documents. I know you've got someone outside helping rush it through an agent, a notary, maybe even Amabile legal service. You thought you could hide it, that if you kept me out long enough, Donna would sign anything you put in." Front of her. He blanched, panic, flaring. "You're overreacting, Dot. It's just legal housekeeping. Just getting things in order in case I cut him off. In case you needed to get your hands on the house before I could stop you." My voice was cold as stone. "Ya want to explain why the signature page is blank except for Donna's trembling mark. Or why there's a folder in Fepentry with a full packet of deed transfer forms, notarized cover sheets, and a check for rush processing." Blair came in, eyes blazing, trying to put herself between us. "This isn't the time, Zayden." I ignored her, pushing forward. "Who drafted the documents? Who scheduled the courier? Was it your idea, or did you both cook it up together?" Graham cracked, his words tumbling out. He'd started the process, but only because he was drowning in debt. Blair had insisted the sooner it was done, the better. "She's slipping, Zayden. We needed to make sure she'd be safe." "No, you needed her signature before I found out," I snapped back. "You needed to move the house before I exercised the POA, Blair's." Mask slipped. "You weren't supposed to be here. We asked her to keep your kids home because we knew you'd come if they were invited. You asked too many questions, Zayden. You always do." My anger rose, but I kept my voice controlled. "You lied to Donna. You lied to the rest of us. You used the noise of my kids as a shield to finish what you started, but house isn't yours to take. Donna doesn't have the capacity to sign. Any document you push through now is fraud, and I won't let you ruin what's left of her dignity for your convenience." They both went pale, realizing the plan was falling apart. I pressed on. "Here are your options. 1, you hand over every piece of paperwork, every bank statement, and stop contacting anyone about Donna's property. Or 2, I call the police, the bank, and every relevant agency and let them sort it out. My lawyer is on call, and as of tomorrow morning, my POA is activated and filed. Your window to cooperate is closing." Just then, Blair made a move toward the hallway as if to fetch Donna for a quick signature. I intercepted, stepping in front of her. "No more signatures tonight. No more conversations with Donna about her assets. Marin will keep her with the kids until I say otherwise. Marin, reading the situation, pulled Donna gently back into the living room, started an old carol on the speaker, and asked the kids to teach Grandma the words. The living room became a sanctuary, far from perfect, but a place where Donna was safe, if only for now. I pulled out my phone, snapped photos of the paperwork, and texted Elliot, my lawyer, for a second time. Full packet of deed transfers. External notary involved. Stopped further signatures. Need wellness check guidance. He wrote back immediately. You're doing exactly right. Secure the documents. Don't escalate. Keep Donna away from any more assigning. Tomorrow we act. For the rest of the evening, I played my role. Elad with Junie and Bo listened to Donna hum along to Silent Night and watched Graham and Blair pretend nothing had happened. Their glances nervous and hollow under the surface. Everything had shifted. The secrets they'd built this day around who really owned the house, who truly cared for Donna, who had the right to decide, were out in the open, now no longer hidden behind polite holiday conversation. As the night wore on, I tucked Donna in, making sure she had her comfort, her music, her lavender lotion, the family photos on the nightstand. She looked up at me, searching my face. It's a good Christmas, isn't it? She asked, her eyes misty, uncertain. I smiled gently. It is, Mom, and tomorrow will be even better. That night, I slept, little phone buzzing with updates from Elliot. And Raymond, my accountant. The evidence was clear, the stakes set. I knew I was up against more than just family secrets. I was fighting for my mother's safety, my children's legacy, and in a strange way, for the right to finally protect my family on my own terms. As I stared out the window at the frost-lit yard, one truth burned in my mind. Everything was about to change. The morning after Christmas was bitter cold sky, bright and hard as cut glass. I made coffee and sat with Marin outlining the day ahead. We agreed the kids would stay out of the grown-upness. Everything about Donna, her care, her finances would be handled legally, transparently, and with no more secrets. I texted Graham, setting new terms. From now on, all business concerning Mom goes through me and Elliot. By mid-morning, I was at Elliot's office, legal documents in hand. We filed the power of attorney, submitted the evidence, the photos, the forged signatures, the contact info for the notary, the packet-off transfer forms, the record of Graham's phone calls and Blair's emails. Elliot drafted formal notices, no property transfers, no further withdrawals, no attempts to move assets without my written consent. Everything was frozen pending full investigation. Rona, my accountant, sent 5 years of records highlighting every transaction, the mortgage payments, the money for repairs, the transfers that had quietly kept my mother afloat, and the ones that had lined Graham and Blair's pockets. Every penny tracked, every transaction wrecked. I delivered the evidence to Elliot, watched him build a wall of paperwork that would keep Donna's asset safe no matter what anyone tried. The next step was Donna's care. Marin and it took her to a neurologist, medical records in hand. She was confused, tired, but held my hand the whole time. The doctor confirmed what I'd feared. Her cognitive decline was real and had progressed farther than anyone had admitted. A care plan was established: weekly visits, medication, a professional caregiver on standby. I see a rule. Nothing gets signed, no matter how small, unless I'm there to explain every word. Within days, we called a family meeting. Graham, Blair, Elliot, and myself. I laid down the law. The paperwork stops. Now every document is surrendered, every dollar accounted for. Graham looked beaten, Blair angry and defiant, but they knew the fight was lost. I offered one out, return the money they'd taken. Stay away from Mom's accounts helped Donna without taking anything more than their share of responsibility. If they agreed, we'd move on as a family. If not, Elliot will escalate fraud, elder abuse, the works. To my surprise, Graham caved first. He promised to repay what heckled. Blair slower, but finally admitted defeat. The transfer forms were destroyed, and for the first time, I saw something like relief in their eyes, a sense that the secret war was finally over. A few days later, in a rare lucid moment, Donna sat beside me at my kitchen table. Her hands trembled as she sipped her tea, eyes clearer than I'd seen in weeks. I don't remember all fairy tales, she said, but I remember how tired I was. I let them take charge because I didn't want to be a burden. Her voice wavered. I'm sorry. For forgetting, Zayden. I know you've always been the one to hold us together. I squeezed her hand. It's all right, Mom. You're not a burden. You're the reason I learned how to fight for what matters. In that moment, the story from a year ago, the pain, the exclusion, the confusion, found its echo and its answer. It wasn't just about money or property. It was about keeping the promise to care for family even when it hurt. Spring brought new routines. Donna moved into a nearby memory care center. Junie and Bio visited every week, bringing laughter and hugs, their memories of Grandma saved from the poison of family conflict. Marin made sure our home was full of warmth, not bitterness. Graham and Blair drifted away. Not enemies, just distant, carrying the consequences, but not the scars of what almost happened. 1 year later at Christmas, I stood in Donna's old kitchen, now repurposed by the local hospital as a place for families to gather while children received treatment next door. The house that had been a battleground was now a haven, a place where other families, caught in their own struggles, could find a little shelter, and hope. Graham sent a text on Christmas morning. I'm sorry. Thank you for not giving up on us. I didn't answer right away. Maybe I never would, but I knew I'd done the right thing. Family isn't about blood or property. It's about truth, about care, about showing up even when it cost you everything. My mother had forgotten many things, but in the end, she remembered what mattered. And so did I. As the snow fell, I watched my kids sing beside their grandmother, safe and loved, and realized this was the Christmas we'd been fighting for all along. And I'd do it all again for them, for her, for us. Before I close this chapter of my story, I'd really love to know what you think. Have you ever faced a moment when family ties were tested like this? When you had to stand up for someone you love, even if it meant risking everything? Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your words mean more than you know, and sometimes just knowing someone else has been there makes all the difference. Thank you for listening and being a part of this journey with us.